you have some beautiful poses, the veena.
Mm-hmm.
Whole. So you have dance. Basically, it's like sculptures which come alive. Je, anam, ta, ta. So the veena. Then you have the flute. Je, nam, ta, ta. Then you have the mardala. Kitti, ta, 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 hum, ta, gan, gan, pe. So you have all
Wow.
these sculptural images. You have the manjira brought out through the dance, and these sculptural images, basically, it's like it comes alive through the dance.
This is Built by Grit, where we celebrate hard work, courage, and the people who never give up. Real journeys, real lessons, real grit. Let's get started. I'm your host, Deepa. Welcome back to Built by Grit. Today's conversation is one I have been looking forward to. I am joined by Niharika Mohanty, an Odissi dancer whose work reflects years of discipline, patience, and deep respect for tradition. Odissi is one of India's oldest classical dance forms, and watching it, even briefly, you can feel how much quiet work lives inside every movement. In this conversation, we talk about what it takes to stay with the art form over time, how practice shapes identity, and what Odissi teaches us about stillness, strength, and becoming. I'm really glad you are here for this one. Niharika ji, welcome to the podcast.
Namaskar. It's a pleasure.
Namaskar.
Absolute pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I like to start off the interview by asking the guests to talk a little bit about their lineage as a tribute to their gurus. So I would really appreciate if you would like to start with that.
Most certainly. I wanted to also just let you know that, I grew up, I was born and raised in Canada.
Okay.
And so when I started learning, it was a little different, in terms of we first, when I was first visiting India, that's
Mm.
when I first started learning Odissi dance. So
Mm-hmm.
I trained under, at age 5, we were in Kolkata,
Mm.
and we trained under Guru Muralidhar Maji. And that was my first initial exposure. I was not the greatest of students. I was very impatient and certainly not a good student at all. Um, then later, my next was visiting India once again at age 10, and I
Mm.
learned from the revered senior Guru Pankaj Charan Das. He's one of there are three main gurus in Odissi dance. Guru Pankaj Charan Das is the senior most,
Mm.
eldest of the
Mm.
three. And my guru, who I trained under for a long time, Guru Keduchan Mahapatra, and then Guru Deva Prasad Das, who actually my sister, in fact, trained under. At when
Mm.
I was learning at 5, she was Bhubaneswar, learning from Guru Deva Prasad Das. So between us, we had that exposure to all three main gurus. And then I returned back to Canada,
Mm.
and in fact, North America, and I trained under Guruji's disciples, Guru Kirchan
Ah.
Mahapatra's disciples, um, Dr. Menaka Thakkar, for
Mm.
a long period of time. In fact, I taught under her in her school, as I continued my training as a dancer. Then also my first exposure to Guruji's style was in California
Mm.
under Srimati Ananda Radha.
Mm.
So Dr. Menaka Thakkar, actually very famed Indian classical dancer in Canada for many decades. She's no longer,
Mm.
and but she was very well recognized in the mainstream over there.
Got
You know,
it.
and the exposure in Canada was actually very different in the sense that it was a multicultural society. And so we were exposed to many different dance forms right from childhood. And there were many opportunities to watch all different kinds of dance forms. And, it was a beautiful experience. But within that framework, Indian classical dance actually started to, I watched as Indian classical dance established as one of the mainstream dance forms.
Mm-hmm.
So we saw this very early on in Canada.
Mm.
I think to the multiculturalism and the society that it was being introduced in, and that really um, made it possible for some of the pioneers over there, like Dr. Manaka Thakur and others who were able to establish it. In fact, Dr. Manaka Thakur used to also teach Abhinaya in
Mm.
National Ballet School of Canada.
Oh, wow.
So
Okay.
had gone all the way to, you know, to that level. So so it was beautiful to be able to have that exposure as my start. Now to continue my training, I my father introduced me to Guru Kirchan Mahapatra, and that for me was very much the utmost blessing, because I the whole Guru Shishya Parampara and
Mm-hmm.
that relationship was a very deep one.
Mm.
I used to live with him
Oh,
over
wow.
for many months at a time. In fact, over
Mm.
years, I would
Mm. Mm.
continue to go back
Mm.
many months at a time. Sometimes 4 months, sometimes 6 months. So it was an incredible, immersive experience to be able to train under him. To be, in fact, I became like a daughter. Uh, emotion. But through this experience, I gained tremendously about several insights. Like, for
Mm.
example, his imbibing his tradition
Mm.
um, in a deep way, um, learning about his choreography and his um, basically his thought process for his choreography. So it was an incredible experience. He is the legendary, very revered guru of Odissi dance. In fact, I want to mention that, it is very timely that I get to speak about him, because right now in India, there's a celebration, in fact, worldwide, a celebration of Guruji's centenary.
Oh,
So
wow.
while he passed away in 2004, there are many of his disciples gathered in Bhubaneswar. I'm really missing it, in fact. So it's a pleasure for me to talk about him. Uh, and, uh,
Right. Right. No, that's fantastic. For someone who might be completely new to Odissi dance form, what makes this dance form unique? And how would you describe this dance form?
it's very sculpturesque.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, it has quite a connection to the sculptural art, especially on the temple walls of Odisha. Um,
Mm.
there's a beautiful relationship. Like, for example, we have a dance called Battu, and
Okay.
you very much see there's the famous Konark temple, the Sun
Mm-hmm.
Temple.
Yes,
Uh,
yes.
and, there are many sculptural poses which have
Mm-hmm.
been depicted on the walls of the Konark temple. So, my guru, in fact, took some of those life size images and brought it into this dance called Battu. So, you have in the beginning, you have some beautiful poses, the Veena. whole. So you have dance. Basically, it's like sculptures which come alive. Jhanam, ta, ta. So the veena. Then you have the flute. Jhanam, ta, ta. Then you have the mardala. Kitti, tak, ta, ta, hum, ta, gadi, gana, the. So you have all
Wow.
these sculptural images. You have the manjira brought out through the dance, and these sculptural images, basically, it's like it comes alive through the dance. So, and even in the rest of our technical pieces, you very much see this whole thing of sculptural. It's very
Mm,
sculptural in nature. And then we have this use of what you saw, the upper torso. And this use of upper torso, especially in Guru Kirtan Mahapatra's style, is very much embellished.
mm,
So
mm,
rotations, and all kinds of movements using this. And this is part of what creates the grace of
mm,
Odissi dance.
mm,
The base is very solid, like other Indian classical dance forms. It holds a very firm, there's a firm base.
mhm, mhm,
Whereas the so if you will compare the base and the footwork, basically
mhm,
is create is um very much joined with the rhythm of the music,
mm,
versus upper body, the wrist work, the torso work, the neck work. It is all connected to the melody. So you have this whole juxtaposition going on. And so sometimes in the melody, you're not quite on beat,
mm, mm, mm,
because it has that lyrical quality going on with the melody of the music, versus the rhythm is always enhanced through the footwork.
mm,
So
mm,
you have this. We have in our basic technique, then we have, neck movements. So neck movements, we have head movements, we have hand gestures, different hand gestures, which are common. Most of them are common to all the other styles. Some are
mm,
uh, particular to Odissi dance. We have the upper torso movement. We have body bends that we also do. Anga Brahmari,
mm,
that we also and we have footwork that goes on. But the base of what we do is basically in 4 body positions.
mm.
Sama, which is very common to other styles.
Right.
Abhanga, where we're shifting our weight to one side.
Mm,
Then very unique, the way we do our Tribhangi, when we are doing our Tribhangi, it's a very unique way because the torso is creating the Tribhangi. There is Tribhangi in Kuchipudi style, but they will create it through the head.
mm.
So I've done a lot of collaborative work, so it's been always interesting to experience.
Compare.
The
Yeah.
last body position is Chauka.
Mm,
And this body position, if you know Lord Jagannath's stance,
mm,
it is same as Lord Jagannath's stance. So,
mm,
so these are the 4 body positions, and then we take these body positions along with feet positions. We have 36 feet positions, and that creates the whole base of the body,
mm.
that the bottom half body, through different feet positions. So, just to show you, for example, we can do, this is Minapucha Pada. This
Mm,
is fish's tail.
mm,
This Lolita Pada. Then we have all different things, all different kinds of positions. Paschat urdhamukhi pada.
Hmm.
So there are various positions. Some in Tribhangi, we have, for example, Kumbha pada, which is in the choka base. We have Alidha pada. This is similar to our Tribhangi, but this is more used for male stances.
Hmm.
And we have various other, we have actually in total 36 Padabheda.
Hmm. Footwork. Hmm.
So this, the foot positions. And so these 36 dictate the bottom part of the body.
Got it.
While
Got
we
it.
have torso movements, wrist movements, along with the hand gestures, the neck movements, the head movements, all dictate the top part of the body.
Hmm.
And
Got it.
that is what is basically the building blocks for this
Got it.
dance form. And
Wow.
then, you build on the grammar with combined movements. So combined movements can be in terms of steps. Just like in Bharatanatyam, there is Adavus. Similarly, in Odissi, then we could be doing rotations.
Mhm.
So different kinds of rotations. We could be doing Utparbana jumps, different
Oh.
kinds of jumps. We have charis, which are different modes of movement.
Hmm.
We have the pada sanchara,
Hmm.
several different ways of walks.
Hmm.
We have guts, which one fun one is sometimes even the animal walks. So you have animal
Hmm.
walks, different character walks are the gatis.
Hmm.
And so this forms the absolute basic foundation
Hmm.
which you build upon.
Got it. Got it. Thank you so much for explaining. That was very beautiful. And thanks for actually, showcasing what it really looks like. Odyssey feels like, it's very both grounded and fluid. How is there a strength element to this? How does that look like?
There is a strength element, absolutely. In fact, one of the things, we I can actually compare this with ballet.
Mm,
Uh, Having strong core
mm,
is very essential because you're dividing, just like in ballet, you see that fluid upper body versus when you see the lower body, it's very much held
mm,
in the part of the body. Similarly, in Odissi, our base is, as I said, in those four body positions primarily, with several different feet positions. But you have to hold that in a proper position in order to move the upper body in juxtaposition to the lower body. So
mm,
that the use of core is very, very important. So the strength being held in the core is key. Secondly, our footwork also is, similar to other styles. You very much hear the footwork, so it has to be very clear. So the footwork is always strong. So that's how we are basically able to do the upper body work in juxtaposition. So you have the fluidity in the upper body versus the strength in the lower part of the body.
Um, so Odyssey often tells stories through subtle expressions, right? How do you approach emotion and storytelling in Odyssey? How does that look like?
I mean, it has a lot of similarity with other styles. Again, it's meaning in Indian classical dance overall, we are utilizing the face. We are utilizing our hand gestures, whatever we're going to show, whatever we're going to say, using the hands itself, the hand gestures. then we are utilizing the body language too, right? So, depending on the character that you're showing, your body language will embellish that character, embellish, what you're trying to show with that character. So that these are the primary ways, and it's very common to other dance styles. However, the key difference is going to be always the that every single style basically has an element of the culture from the state where it has originated. Like, for example, in Odissi dance, it is a little more subtle, as you said. It is more subtle because of just the culture itself. It has started. And Odissi dance, in terms of the Abhinaya, it started very much from the temples. And in fact, just similar to Devadasis, there were Maharis in the temples. And they would actually sing the Ashtapadis from Gita Govindam as a way to put Lord Jagannath to sleep. And so, as they were singing, part of what they were doing is expressing what they were singing. So you have the Abhinaya coming very much from originating very much from the temples. So there is very much the devotional, theme very much in our Abhinayas. It's common to other styles, but because of, again, the temple origin, which has happened in other cases too, you very much have that happening. So when you are expressing an abhinaya, one thing is that we are always told that we have to see the character. Who is the character? And understand the character itself, so that we can express i- in the proper way. So similar to other styles, we talk about what kind, like if we are showing a nayaka, for example, we are going to, so a heroine, we are going to assess what kind of a nayaka is this. Is this nayaka? I mean, there are the ashtanayakas where the nayakas have a different feeling towards their lover, and we have also the three levels of nayakas. So it just depends on who this nayaka is, then we portray in that way. So, for example, a heroine like Radha, a consort of Krishna, she will be always Uttama Nayika. So she's always going to be portrayed in a more sophisticated way. She cannot display her emotions in just, how anyone who normally would do it, right? So she has to be very reserved in her emotions. They cannot be blatantly shown. Uh, when we have other characters, though, then
What exactly does a Nayaka mean in this context?
Nayika is overall a heroine. So, and the heroine, you have various kinds of heroines, because the heroines quite often actually are in context to the hero also. So the relationship at that point of time, for example, there are various nayakas, ashtanayakas. One nayaka would be Abhisarika Nayaka. So the heroine would be searching for her hero. She will dress up in her sari, and sometimes the heroine is traveling through the night, so she would dress up in her dark sari and pleat her the uh, make the pleats, and then bring the sari around, and then she will travel and search where is her beloved. So she moves the tree, or she sometimes is waiting for her lover. Uh, so there are various scenarios that are created depending on the nayakas. For us in Odissi dance, one of the primary works is Gita Govindam, about the love story of Krishna and Radha. We also have other Abhinaya, Oriya Abhinaya. Many are actually also about Krishna and Radha. Then we have also devotional pieces, similar to other styles. In other styles, there are the devotional pieces in reverence to a god or a goddess. And then we have also dance drama, like, for example, scenes from the Ramayana, the epic Ramayana, or Mahabharata. So have these are, some of the, if we categorize the Odissi Abhinaya, they would be falling in these categories. But a lot of the Abhinaya ends up being this the love story, especially of Krishna and Radha.
Radha. Interesting, interesting. Is Odissi dance predominantly performed by female dancers, or do you also have male dancers in the on the
We
stage?
do have both. Of course, we do have both. In fact, my guru was on stage until he passed away. He continued to dance on stage. So he was not only a brilliant choreographer, but an outstanding artist on stage too. He was one of the revered legends to his artist too. So there are definitely some male dancers, but predominantly more female dancers, because the lasya quality versus the tandava quality is much more in Odissi dance. So I think more females have, flocked to learn Odissi dance than male dancers. But there are some outstanding male dancers too, and some of them have taken up the dance form and brought it up out in a beautiful way, sometimes bringing in a little more masculinity into their dance, because they can bring in more rigor. So so we sometimes see a little difference in the dance form, because they bring in a little more rigor and it suits their bodies.
Slightly pivot the conversation to a different direction. Odissi, in my mind, just talking to you and also based on my research, it's known for its precision and depth, right? And what does your daily practice look like, especially on the days, let's say, the motivation is probably low? What does your practice look like? What do you do?
For years, actually, the thing is, the Riyaz is very, very important. So, for many, many years, my practice has very much looked like, first starting with warm up exercises to get the body limber. Then, then we generally move on to steps and doing for more recently, I haven't been doing as much of the steps, but for decades I was practicing steps, all the steps that we have in Odissi dance, in choka, the choka position, and the tribhangi positions. And then the body is fully warmed up in the style after doing all the steps. Then I would go to items, and uh, and I did this for years. And when the children also, when I raised the children and they were very young, at that time, sometimes my practice would be in the daytime when they were away. But sometimes my practice would be 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock at night, because that's the time that they would be asleep. And one had to find that way, because that riyaz is what creates that whole thing of sadhana. And it doesn't matter what art form you are doing, that practice is absolutely a necessity. It doesn't imbibe in the same way without that practice. But as you grow older, you can do without that intensive practice, as I saw with my guru. I never actually saw him practice. I never saw him practice, but he would. And when he was with other masters, they would be just having a conversation of, you do this, I do this, you do this, I do this. And then they created magic on stage. So it was an incredible thing to witness, because I wouldn't be able to do that. I certainly need some amount of practice in order to get on stage.
Stands since childhood. It's very long term practice, right? This, I'm sure it has not just shaped your dance, but also how you move through your life. How do you think the dance has changed the way you move through in your life day to day basis?
There is a lot more awareness of the body. That's first and foremost. So, and I've told my students also that, when whatever you're doing, having that awareness is also helps also for the dance. But the dance also creates more awareness of the body itself. So you know how you are, how you're going to drive, right? How you're going to wash dishes or any other kind of work. And there is, I think, a grace that comes through just because the body is always trained in that way. Many times, people have seen me in the past and they say, oh, you're either in abhanga or tribhangi all the time. So it just actually comes into the body, and the grace of what we have in our dance is something that uh, stays in your body throughout the day. And it's it's um, it's beautiful because movement also has a different meaning. Every single movement that you do, you're thinking along how you're doing it. Like, for example, if you're on the computer, you are still holding that posture of a dancer, and then you're typing away on the computer. So it is always with you day in day out.
Got it. Got it. Got it. That's a fantastic way to put that. Um, in today's world, there is this pressure to constantly perform, like live up to a certain kind of outcome. In your practice, what I'm noticing is there's a lot of process. You were practicing for hours continuously. So, how do you stay rooted in the process rather than, like shooting for an outcome?
I think I have to say that I'm a lover of process. It's for me, that is the beauty. The beauty is dancing it over and over and over and refining and refining and refine, dancing a step to the point that you feel the beauty of that step. You feel it within. So that takes a while. It won't happen right away. So that's what I feel that, drives me personally, is to be able to I'm quite fixated on this, and I will do it again and again and again. And if I'm practicing for a performance even, I'm rooted still in that process. So I will do it, I will record it. Oh, something is not okay, go back again, fix it up. And if there's something else that's not okay, go back once again and just keep doing that again and again and again. I feel, to me, I feel dance is very much a yoga, and it requires that in-depth practice in order to fully imbibe it. So it's a yoga, it's a meditation, and of course, it's a path of bhakti too. So it's a very beautiful, marriage of these three. Um, and you continue on through life. Uh, is just going deeper and deeper and deeper. A dance itself, the other thing that I always feel and I teach students about is that the more you can go in depth into each dance, you will find much more in it. If you just learn it and perform it and then leave it, then you can never really, truly, truly appreciate a gem. Our guru has created masterpieces, and the only way we can uncover those gems is by that repetition, doing it over and over and over again. Then we are able to bring the gem out in a beautiful way. And the other thing that I like to teach is that you, by the repetition, you find yourself within the dance. That's very, very significant. It is personal experience. It's not just something that you do quickly and move on, because you will never find yourself in it until you have that kind of riyaz. So actually I broke my ankle. Actually, it was 2016. So it still is a problem for me till date. I don't think it will ever be something that I can just easily get over, because there's a lot of stiffness of left ankle. But it has taught me to, and not just my ankle breaking, but other health issues that have happened throughout, you know, uh, definitely much more recently, but in the past. And I have to say that, I that's where I discovered these exercises, that the physical therapy that I've learned through therapy. And some of these exercises actually are very, very beneficial for all students. So it's not just somebody who's, an issue in the ankle. But after my ankle broke, I learned a lot of these strengthening exercises, these exercises to make my ankle more flexible. And I was able to uh, gain a lot more control of the ankle and understand the relevance to our dance, because our footwork is so it really helped me to understand. But definitely it has been a roadblock. It's what I used to do before in my riyaz, I can do in the same way as I was able to do, because that stiffness will be always an issue. But one carries on. The one thing I wanted to say is that, Guru Shraddha, our institution, it was blessed by Guru Garjan Mahapatra, and has deep involvement of Guru Ratikant and Guru Sujata Mahapatra, his son and daughter-in-law, who come here yearly to hone the students. And they come here for a 10-day workshop. They teach them in a very immersive way also. So this institution is trying to carry forward Guruji's legacy, and bring many more students into this art form. So for them, it's been a wonderful, it's been a learning for me to be teaching. As Guruji always said, that you teach, you learn. So I'm all a student.
Awesome, awesome. That brings me to this interesting question. I actually asked this question to the previous guest, Mr. Nachiketa GSO. The younger generation, right? They seem to need speed, and they always have a very short attention span. How do you feel like you have changed the way you are delivering the dance and your classes to keep the younger generation interested?
Very good question. I am overall, a stickler to quality and foundation. So I don't move too fast, because this is what Guruji had instructed me to do. That you have to make sure the foundation is strong, and then you build upon this foundation. So I am someone who doesn't move very quickly. And for me, having this institution is always a way to honor his tradition. So, if students want a quicker method, then I'm not their teacher. If they want to learn this art form in a very serious way, then I am there for them. And I will do everything I can in my power to be there for them. So I have, in fact, senior disciples who are very dedicated, including Deepa Mahadevan, who you have interviewed. And she's one of my dear students in the East Coast. So I have students in both coasts, East and West. And these disciples are very, very dedicated to this dance and to learning it properly, and to making sure that they imbibe it in the right way. So I am truly blessed to have these kind of disciples. And even if there aren't many, it doesn't matter. What matters more to me, that they are dedicated. I just wanted to say I have three of these disciples who are also our teachers in Guru Shraddha, who are performing on this coming Sunday at the Sanatan Dharma Kendra in San Jose. And, if you're in the Bay Area, then, I welcome you to watch them. And everything that I've talked about, you'll be able to witness in a better way when you see their art.
What are some of the things that keeps you up at night?
I think a lot keeps me up at night, frankly. It's, I, I think one is, if I don't get something, meaning a dance step, if I'm trying to even remember dance, it will keep me up at night. If I am, if I feel that I'm not getting a step, then it will keep me up at night. It will be, in my mind. If I'm trying to remember the sequence, then it will keep me up at night. If I feel that as a teacher, there's a lot that keeps me up also, because you want to ensure that uh, what you have learned from your guru is um imbibed in your students, and you want to see how effectively you can teach something, how you may have to change your way of teaching something in order to be effective in training. There's a lot of creativity, also creative thoughts that one thinks of, that when we are doing choreography, that is something else that I feel stays in your mind, because you want to see how does that, because I've watched Guruji choreograph, that has really made me have a different sense in the way that you know, seeing him and how he would try to see, because Odissi is very difficult, but it's supposed to look effortlessly. So, you know, there is always a challenge of how do you bind together movements? How do you make it flow so that it seems like from one movement to the next movement, it is moving, you know, in a beautiful way, and it doesn't look at all. So these are all things that keep me up.
Cool. And you have a family and you are also a performer. How do you balance all of these in life?
It is a challenge, and sometimes you have a lot of sacrifice, you know, through the process, because you know there are certain things you can't do, but achieving a balance has always been a very important thing in my life, because you know, maybe I won't have classes every day. So, you know, and that has always been a part of my life, because I want to make sure I'm there for my children. And I want to make sure I give them that time, that love, that energy. For example, my daughter was always with me because she danced. But my son, you know, and giving the importance to him, his sports, making sure that I was there watching his games as a parent, and giving him that, you know, making sure we also had that bond. Like, you know, over here in the um, Bay Area, I'm a big fan of the Golden State Warriors, and you know, and partially that is a bond that I have with my son. You know, actually watching not this sport but other sports too. He used to play basketball for a long time, and you know, so it's like you need to create the bond so that you don't lose a child because you have a bond with the other child. So these are things. So keeping the balance of saying that, okay, I'm going to teach this many days, and I'm going to be there for my family this many days. As a dancer, I'm going to utilize you know, the daytime when other people are busy. I dance myself. Carving out the time in your day accordingly is very, very crucial. And I think all of us dancers do the same thing. And making sure we can do it this way is significant. I have to say also that it's a very different thing being over here than being in India. Because in India, you have some help, versus over here, you are, you know, as you know, we have, yeah. So we are very much the homemaker, you know, along with everything else. And for me, the other thing that I also concentrate on is that Guru Shraddha is a non-profit organization. So there are certain things that, you know, work that you have to do to maintain as a non-profit organization. So there's a lot of administrative work too. Um, and so it is that balance, but there are other things that sometimes you miss out the same kind of socialization as others, because you are trying to keep these different things. So that has been something that, you know, I found that, okay, I can do as much of that, but again, within, you know, these boundaries of, you know, being able to maintain everything else.
Got it. Got it. No, that's you're doing a wonderful job of keeping that fine balance. It's an art by itself. What's next for you? What's coming up?
So I'm so happy you've asked this question, because something very, very dear to my heart, but I'll just backtrack a little bit. Um, I, because I grew up in Canada, this whole idea of collaborating was something that I was very excited about. And, sometimes the collaborations were more um, traditional in nature. Sometimes the collaborations were collaborating with non Indian forms and something very relevant to everyone. So, this is something that started in Canada. And in fact, I initiated some collaboratives early on. And then when I moved over here, I continued some of that work. But then when Guru Shraddha started, of course, the initial years of Guru Shraddha, we spent very much on the tradition and mastering the tradition. Then later, from 2015, I we curated, Guru Shraddha curated the program Sahanartana, and most of the I'll come back to Sahanartana in a bit, but we started with Sahanartana, where we brought together different Indian classical dance styles, so 6 Indian classical dance styles, along with Odissi, Manipuri, Mohiniyattam, Bharatanatyam, Kuchipudi, and Kathak. And we had these forms along with Odissi. And so it was a beautiful exploration of Indian classical dance. And there was so much learning that happened through this. Then my next project was with Mosaic. At that point of time, it was Mosaic Silicon Valley. And so in 2017, we presented Spark. And Spark was basically, it wasn't just Indian, it was Indian and non-Indian forms, including music too. And we just wanted to showcase things in 5 minutes. So it could be some of it was traditional forms, some of it was collaborations. For example, I collaborated with a modern, contemporary dancer in Spark. So everything was, each piece was 5 minutes. That's the Spark. So it was very, very well written because, and the finale was with everyone together. And it was very, very well received. It was, the audience just was very ecstatic, about this. And then went on to, I had another collaboration with Mosaic called Femina. And Femina was exploring the feminine in different cultures. So it was absolutely a cultural experience to see how we explored in various cultures this whole idea of the feminine energy. And it also was very, very well received. We did this in San Francisco. So now, following all of this post COVID, we have had discussions with the group that was in Sahanartana, and we have added also in Kathak Anupama Srivastava. So we had in that in Sahanartana, we had Moshimi Bose and Chandri Mukherjee. We had Deepa Mahadevan, and her group, and we had Bindu Pratap, we had Madhuri Kishore in Kuchipudi, so Mohiniyattam, Bindu Pratap, Bharatanatyam, Deepa Mahadevan, uh, and others also in that program. And so we, post COVID, we had this idea of doing something together, but doing something together that's meaningful, that's relevant. So born out of these, our meetings, came this whole idea of presenting oneness, and we are calling it Oneness the Blossoming, because the foreground is actually spring, the spring season, and exploring the shared experiences, human experiences that we all feel universally, that we all experience during the spring. For example, nature, the blossoming of nature. For example, children playing outside because they were hibernating during the winter time, so you hear them all playing outside. You have beautiful festivals during the springtime. You have this whole thing of celebrating motherhood. Mother's Day falls during the springtime. Then you have weddings. Weddings are very common during the springtime. And another very, very important theme is young love, because once again they were, it was much more love and separation, when during the winter time, but once again they unite. But you see also this theme of love and union, love and separation. So there are various themes that we all experience, and it doesn't matter where we live in the world. So through our 6 styles, we present oneness, because we present these common experiences. And, we also show that, yes, we may be presenting 6 styles, but we are ultimately one voice. So, I hope that you will be there at Oneness and on February 7th in San Mateo. And, we are absolutely delighted. There's so much that we learn when we dance together. There's just so much, when you are watching the forms, you understand it in one way, but when you actually collaborate, it's just, so amazing. You see those common elements, you see the different elements, and, it just makes you feel that India is amazing. The richness of our art forms and what come out of India, it's just incredible. And out of this one country, in fact, even when you go from state to state to state, you see the cultural differences, and food also, and language, but also these dance forms that have been born out of the different regions of India, and how beautiful they are. Yet you see the commonality. Like, for example, we have a common language. When we're expressing things, how we express things, we have a common language through our gesturing. So this is something that we will explore, but we want to make sure that this is very accessible to a larger, wider audience. And that's why we wanted to do this on the spring theme, and be able to bring out our shared experiences.
Delighted. Um, Thank you so much for, taking the time to talk to me and really actually walking us through the basics of Odissi dance. And I really, really appreciate that. And it was wonderful interviewing you on this show.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for joining me today. If this inspired you, please like, share, and subscribe.